So I ran my old compressor last weekend, the one I've had for maybe 6 years, and my wife came out to the garage genuinely concerned because she thought something was broken. That's just how loud that thing is. 80-something decibels of pure mechanical screaming every time it kicks on. And look, I put up with it for years because I assumed that's just what compressors do. Turns out I was wrong. There's a whole generation of quiet compressors now that sound closer to a refrigerator humming than a jet engine warming up, and some of them actually deliver serious air. I spent weeks comparing 7 of the best ones, and the differences between them are way bigger than you'd expect. I'll leave all the links down in the description so you can check pricing whenever you want. Let's get into it. The California Air Tools 10,020 Canadian dollars is where most people end up when they first search for quiet compressors, and there's a good reason for that. 70 decibels. That's it. You can have a normal conversation standing right next to this thing while it's running. The pump spins at 1680 revolutions per minute, which is absurdly slow for a compressor, and that's the whole trick. Slow spin means less noise, less heat, and a pump that lasts over 3,000 hours. You're getting 5.3 cubic feet per minute at 90 pounds per square inch from a 10-gallon tank, which is plenty for impact wrenches, nail guns, spray painting, all of it. Here's a detail I genuinely appreciate. The easy start valve bleeds a tiny puff of air when the motor kicks on so it doesn't spike your electrical circuit. If you've ever had a compressor trip your breaker mid-project, you know how maddening that is. This one just starts, every time, even in cold weather, even on a long extension cord. The automatic drain valve is great in theory because it handles moisture for you, but fair warning, it purges with a loud little blast every couple of minutes that'll make you jump the first few times. Some people run a tube from the drain into a sealed container to quiet it down, which works perfectly. Now here's where it gets interesting. The Stealth 20-gallon runs at 68 decibels, which doesn't sound like a huge difference from 70, but decibels are logarithmic. That 2 decibel gap actually means the Stealth is pushing out noticeably less sound energy. And the type of sound matters too. This one uses an induction motor that hums low instead of whining high, and that changes everything over a long work session. Your ears just don't fatigue the same way. 20 gallons of tank means the motor barely cycles on during most jobs. You can run a sander or dual nailers for 8 to 10 minutes straight before it needs to refill. The vertical design barely takes up any floor space, and it charges from 0 to 150 psi in about 70 seconds, which is genuinely fast. 130 pounds means it's staying in the garage, but honestly, that's where you want it anyway. The pump life is rated at 1,000 hours compared to 3,000 on the California Air Tools, so you're trading longevity for double the air storage and the quietest operation money can buy. For most home users, that's a trade worth making. Okay, completely different animal. The DeWalt DXCM271 isn't trying to be the quietest thing in the room. It's trying to give you so much air that you forget the compressor even exists. 27 gallons compressed to 200 psi, and I want you to think about what that actually means. At 200 psi instead of the usual 135, you're cramming roughly the same volume of usable air into this tank as you'd get from a 40-gallon unit at standard pressure. I've seen guys rotate all 4 wheels on a car without the motor cycling on once. That kind of reserve changes how you work. You stop thinking about air and just focus on the job. The low-volt motor runs reliably on extension cords up to 50 feet, so you can park the compressor inside and work out in the driveway no problem. At 78 decibels, it's definitely louder than the first 2, but with the garage door open, it's totally livable. One thing, check every brass fitting when you unbox it and hit anything that hisses with Teflon tape. 5 minutes of your time and it's airtight forever. What if you need that kind of power but your budget says otherwise? The Klutch 20-gallon vertical hits 175 psi max at a price that'll make you double-check the listing. 4.2 cubic feet per minute at 90 pounds per square inch, handles nailers, impact wrenches, even winterizing a sprinkler system. It fills from empty in under 8 minutes, which is quick for this class. Now, the honest reality, the motor spins at 10,000 revolutions per minute to get there, so it sits at 80 decibels and you'll hear every cycle. Pump life is 400 hours, which sounds short until you do the math. 3 hours of actual runtime per week gives you over 2.5 years before the pump needs attention. For weekend projects, framing a basement, swapping suspension parts, that kind of thing, it's phenomenal value. Just know what you're buying. This is the compressor that works hard on Saturdays, not the one running a body shop 5 days a week. And then there's the Makita Mac 2400, which honestly feels like it was built in a different era. While every other brand went oil-free and plastic, Makita said no thanks and stuck with cast iron, oil-lubricated, heavy-duty everything. People who own this machine are borderline obsessed with it. I keep reading about owners who've had theirs for 10-15 years without touching anything but the oil. The big bore cylinder is physically oversized, so it moves a massive amount of air per stroke at just 1730 RPM, half the speed of most compressors. Less speed, less heat, less wear. It's simple physics and it works. The sound is unique too, a deep, rhythmic thump instead of a high-pitched scream, so even though it's rated at 79 decibels, it feels significantly quieter than that number suggests. The catch? 4.2 gallons is a small tank. You won't sustain a DA sander with it. But throw a framing nailer on there and you'll never ever outrun this pump. Toss it in a truck bed, drag it across a job site, the roll cage frame takes the abuse and doesn't care. For the gearheads in the room, and you know who you are, the Ingersoll Rand GarageMate is a different conversation entirely. 100% continuous duty cycle. Let that sink in. Most consumer compressors need to rest after running for a few minutes or the heat melts the internals. This one uses an oil bath, a belt drive system that keeps motor heat away from the pump, and enough cast iron to stop a bullet. It can run all day, all night, all weekend. Picture an engine pull, 8 hours of air ratchets, impact guns, the works. And the compressor just keeps going, never overheating, never stalling. The belt drive produces this deep rhythmic chug that's surprisingly tolerable for 80 decibels. At 200 pounds, it's not going anywhere once you park it, and honestly, the biggest headache is delivery. Check the box carefully because carriers aren't always gentle with freight this heavy. The synthetic lubricant lasts 2,000 hours between changes, so maintenance is almost non-existent. If your garage sees serious mechanical work, this is the one that won't let you down. Last one, and I saved it here for a reason. The Northstar 20-gallon quietly does everything well. 70 decibels, 5.4 cubic feet per minute at 90 pounds per square inch, 20-gallon horizontal tank. Those numbers match or beat almost everything on this list. But where the Northstar genuinely surprised me is the build. 10-inch solid flat-free tires, reinforced axle, thick handle tubing, a foot bar so you can tilt the unit back without throwing out your lower back. Most brands cheap out on exactly these parts because nobody puts them in the thumbnail. But wheels and axles are what actually break first on portable compressors, and Northstar over-engineered all of it. If you need to wheel a compressor across gravel, grass, rough concrete, or you just want something built to survive a real working garage, this is the one that keeps going when cheaper frames crack. So, here's the quick breakdown. Quietest overall, stealth, 68 decibels, nothing touches it. Best long-term investment, California Air Tools, 3,000 hours of pump life and nearly silent. Raw air capacity for serious mechanical work. The DeWalt at 200 psi performs like a compressor twice its size. Best bang for the buck on weekends. Klutch, hands down. Indestructible reliability you can pass down. Makita, a compressor that literally never needs to stop. Ingersoll Rand GarageMate, and the best all-rounder with a chassis that actually survives real life, Northstar. Links for everything are in the description. Drop a comment and tell me which one you're picking up.